Hey, today I'm talking about 3 French films that were all submitted to be considered to be nominated for Best Foreign Picture at the Academy Awards. Only one of them was actually nominated, and none of them won. And the names of those 3 films are French Twist, My Night at Maud's, and Renoir. First up is French Twist. This is a 1995 film, and the basic premise is this real estate salesman constantly and with a lot of bravado cheats on his wife, but her, as a kind of lonely housewife and stay-at-home mom, one day finds and befriends a wandering lesbian, and maybe some spicy stuff happens from there. And this movie is great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What I particularly loved about it was its ability to manipulate my emotions, because I frickin' loathed the husband. He was just awful because, like, he constantly cheats on his wife and is very proud of the fact that he cheats on his wife and how he keeps it a secret. And he even argues at one point about how it's definitely okay for men to cheat on their wives, but it's never okay for wives to cheat on their husbands. Just saying that makes me pissed off. And then what gets even worse, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but he notices his wife has her hand on the lesbian's thigh at one point, and he's like, "You did it. You ruined our marriage right there. That was it. You ruined our marriage. I don't care about anything else. You ruined the marriage." And I'm like, "You literally just cheated on your wife 2 seconds ago. You're a terrible person. I hate you so much." He is just the biggest freaking bigot, and I hate him a lot. But even though by the end it kind of gets absurd, I would honestly describe this as a very realistic and grounded movie/relationship. That this movie does a good job of navigating the complicatedness of unhappy relationships. Yeah, and it's great. It's really solid. But yeah, I definitely recommend this movie. It was great. It is a tragedy that it did not get nominated for Best Foreign Film. It's great. I really love it. It was awesome. Next up is My Night at Maud's. This is a 1969 film, and the title of the movie perfectly surmises the premise. But to expand on it a little bit, there's this guy in his mid-30s who's single and kind of has a crush on this stranger, but then one day he stumbles across his old high school buddy. They haven't seen each other in 14 years, so they kind of reconnect a little bit, and then eventually he takes him over to his girlfriend's house, which is Maud, and then most of the movie is at Maud's place. There is stuff after and before, but the primary big chunk is at Maud's. Now, what's really interesting to me is that this movie is technically a type of movie that I really don't like. And that is, it's basically just a bunch of people sitting around talking about different philosophical ideals. And I don't like it for a lot of reasons. One of them being they tend to make references to specific people that I just don't get and don't understand. But what worked for me here is that while they were doing their philosophizing, there was a very, very clear subtext that was super flirty, and I really deeply connected to it, because I'm I have done essentially the exact same thing as this movie of being oh, we're technically talking about one thing, but I'm really flirting hardcore with you, and someone else doing the same thing to me in other contexts. It was just a lot of fun to see this, and it's definitely a movie that I want to sit on and think about more, and definitely give it a rewatch in the not too distant future. I would again recommend this one, but a bit more cautiously, just because it's not like most movies. It's a very dialogue heavy movie, but like I said, there is a lot of subtext and stuff that's not difficult to pick up on. So if you think you can handle dialogue driven movies or character focused movies, this is definitely something that you would enjoy. It was really, really good, really solid. But again, it's not for everyone, but it is good though. And lastly is Renoir. This is a 2012 film based on a true story, with that true story being about the last few years of an impressionist painter's life as he's painting this teenage girl naked a bunch, and also the formative years of this guy who is about to go on to become a really big important director in France. So what I liked about this movie is it was really, really pretty. There were some incredibly gorgeous shots of nature, even though I didn't get to see this in the best video quality. I think it was 4 480 is what I saw it in. I could still tell that it was a ridiculously gorgeous film. That's how well the visuals came through. And they also did a really, really good job of like capturing the sound of summer, just like that certain kind of wind rustling the leaves in the grass. It was so beautiful. Made me want to go outside and explore nature for a bit. But I really did not care for this movie. To me, it felt incredibly aimless and pointless. That it was just people kind of existing, not really doing anything or changing as people. They're just kind of there. And I wouldn't even describe this as like a slice of life film that doesn't feel true to what it is. In other words, I was just incredibly bored by this movie. Even though there's like a decent amount of nudity, like that didn't seem to keep my attention. I just didn't really care for it. So I wouldn't recommend this movie, though I will add that it did get a lot of good reviews. So like the reason I didn't like it could be more of a me thing, because it apparently did connect to a lot of other people. Maybe if you're more familiar with the director or painter, then probably be more worth a watch, but me not being really familiar with either of them, I really didn't care for this movie and don't recommend it. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got French Twist at number 22 in the really like section. So good. And then not too terribly far behind is My Night at Maud's at number 32. Also in the really like section. And then bringing up the rear, rightfully so, is Renoir, sitting at number 114 in the meh section. And this is out of a total of 141 old movies so far this year.